White thinks they're attacking, but you're setting the trap. Welcome to the King's Gambit from Black's side of the board. In this video, we'll reveal deadly traps, tactical ambushes, and brilliant counterattacks that flip the script on overconfident White players. If you've ever felt under pressure against the King's Gambit, today you'll learn how to turn the tables and win with style. Stay alert, stay sharp. Let's trap the attacker. Time to punish the Gambit. Let's break down the first breathtaking chess trap to crush the King's Knight's Gambit. White opens with a pawn to e4. We respond with pawn to e5. Then comes pawn to f4, the King's Gambit. We accept it with pawn captures on f4. White develops their knight to f3. We push our pawn to g5. White brings out the other knight to c3. We advance our pawn to g4, attacking the knight on f3. White retreats the knight to d4. We now deliver a stunning queen check on h4. If White plays pawn to g3, we simply capture it with our pawn. F captures g3. So, most players instead play king to e2. We develop our bishop to c5, putting pressure on the knight at d4. White now plays knight to f5, attacking our queen. We calmly move the queen to f2, a powerful check. After the only legal reply, king to d3, we unleash a sneaky knight to c6. Most opponents now play queen captures pawn on g4 or queen to e2. It doesn't matter. Our response is the same. Knight to e5, a devastating checkmate in just 9 moves. Let's now dive into another incredible trap where we capture White's queen and win the game by move 8. The game begins. Pawn to e4, pawn to e5. Pawn to f4, we accept with pawn captures f4. Knight to f3, and we play pawn to g5. White develops bishop to c4. We push g4, attacking the knight. White jumps in with knight to e5, double attacking our f7 and g4 pawns. Here, queen to h4 check is a good option, but we go for something more devious. Knight to h6, quietly setting the trap. Most opponents think the pawn on g4 is free and grab it. Now we strike with queen to h4, a surprising check. White blocks with knight. We play pawn to d5. If White captures with pawn, they get doubled pawns and a blocked bishop. So most will go for bishop captures on d5. But it's a blunder. We shock them with bishop to g4, trapping their queen. On the next move, we'll win White's queen. And from there, the game is almost certainly ours. Next, a sensational trap using a classic tactical fork. We have pawn to e4, pawn to e5. White plays pawn to f4, and we capture on f4. Knight to f3, we develop knight to f6. White brings out their knight to c3. We strike the center with pawn to d5. They capture with pawn, we recapture with knight. They exchange knights, we recapture with our queen. White plays pawn to d4, regaining center control and opening up their dark squared bishop. We calmly develop bishop to e7. Then comes bishop captures pawn on f4, but it's a huge mistake. We punish it with queen to e4, a check and fork hitting the king and bishop. We're about to win a full piece and gain a completely winning position straight from the opening. After tackling the King's Knight's Gambit, let's crush the King's Bishop's Gambit. Pawn to e4, pawn to e5, pawn to f4, we accept it. Then comes bishop to c4, the Bishop's Gambit. We immediately counterstrike with pawn to d5. After pawn captures d5, we play queen to h4, delivering check. After king to e1, we push pawn to f3, attacking the bishop on c4. Many White players now try to simplify with queen to e1, offering a queen trade. But it's a disastrous blunder. After queen captures queen, king captures queen, we unleash pawn captures on g2, threatening to take the rook and promote to a queen. Next move, we do exactly that. Victory is just a few moves away. Now, let's explore what happens if White captures the pawn on d5 with their bishop in that same line. Pawn to e4, pawn to e5. Pawn to f4, we capture. Bishop to c4, then pawn to d5. White captures with bishop. We develop knight to f6, attacking the bishop and eyeing e4. White defends with knight to c3. We pin that knight with shot bishop to b4. After pawn to d3, we capture the bishop with knight, and after pawn recaptures, we castle. White plays queen to f3, defending their d5 pawn. We deliver rook to e8, a check. White blocks with knight to e2. Now comes bishop captures knight, and after pawn recaptures, we play queen to h4, check again. Almost every opponent now plays the natural-looking pawn to g3, but that's a mistake. Instead of retreating, we strike with bishop to g4, counterattacking white's queen. If pawn captures on h4, we respond with bishop captures on f3, attacking both the knight and the rook. Our attack is overwhelming. White is helpless. Here's another dazzling trap, perfect for punishing over-aggressive opponents. Pawn to e4, pawn to e5, pawn to f4. We accept. Bishop to c4. We develop knight to f6. White plays pawn to d3, defending e4 and attacking our f4 pawn with the bishop. We strike back with pawn to d5. After pawn captures, knight recaptures. White now plays the aggressive queen to h5, targeting our knight on d5 and f7 pawn. Instead of defending directly, we play pawn to c6, a quiet but cunning trap. Most opponents now capture on f4 with the bishop. Big mistake. We respond with queen to e7. If white blocks with knight to e2, we win the bishop with knight captures on f4. If they play bishop to e5, then knight to d7 wins the bishop again. Even if queen captures on e5, we still play knight takes bishop. We now have a huge material lead and a totally winning position. And finally, let's crush white if they play pawn to d4 on move 3, the Wilmsen Gambit. We begin with pawn to e4, pawn to e5. Then comes pawn to f4, we accept. White plays pawn to d4. We strike immediately with queen to h4. Most players block with pawn to g3. We capture, pawn takes g3. They develop knight to f3, thinking they're fighting back. Just when they believe they've survived, we play the brilliant move, pawn to g2. If they capture the queen, their knight, we capture the rook on h1, promoting to a brand new queen. We're up a full rook, and victory is in sight. So next time someone dares to play the King's Gambit, you'll be ready? You've just learned how to take control, trap the attacker, and win with style. Like the traps? Smash the like button. Want more killer ideas for Black? Subscribe for weekly tactical breakdowns. Got a favorite response to 1.e4, e5, 2.f4? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your strategy. Until next time, play smart, think deeper, and always make your next move your best. Trap the trapper. Win the game.